I hope everyone's doing great. Welcome back to A House of Worth. And this is a special episode. As you know, if you comment your rising sign along with your Venus placement, you might get chosen for me to do a deep dive according to what house that you commented in. And so today we're going to go over the second house, but this is going to be for somebody very special to me. She commented in the section for the second house, which is your living room, and so it's my honor to do a deep dive in your chart according to your second house. I will tag you in this video, Jess, so you make sure that so I make sure that you see this video. I hope that you had a great time for integrating and slowing down and really connecting back to yourself during this season of slowing down winter solstice. So let's just get into your chart. So you commented that you are a Cancer rising with a Cancer Venus, which is so beautiful. But then you also commented that you do not have anything in your second house. And I told you that even though you don't have planets in your second house, you still have a zodiac sign that is stationed in that house. And yours happens to be Leo, which I love because I'm a Leo sun and I have a Cancer Venus. So I can totally relate to some of the things that you go through with those placements. So, first of all, let's just talk about having a Cancer rising. Cancers are highly intuitive. You are like the matriarch in your environment, in your community, as far as like family. You're always the one that is looked to take care of things because you're the nurturer, and you love to serve in that way. You love to take care of others. But when you don't have healthy boundaries, what happens is you overly give to the people, and because they know that that is your aura, because the first house represents your identity and how people see you, they assume that you enjoy doing those things because you truly do, but you don't want to give from a place where there's resentment and being taken advantage of. And so you're the type of person that wears your heart on your sleeve. And it's coming from being genuine. But if you haven't healed any unresolved trauma from being, from childhood, or even being in relationships, what happens is you give out of necessity. Like, you think that you're giving because that's you just love to nurture. But what happens is it's a way that you've been able to control your environment, right? Because if you're looked at being the nurturer and the pleaser of other people and saying yes to everyone, then you get that, I don't want to say reputation, but people just see you as an easy pushover. So they're going to push and push because you know the saying that people will always treat you the way that you allow them to. And so, what happens in that instance is if you're not balanced and you're overgiving, you get exhausted and then resentment builds. And then you start looking at people for who they are. And you begin to realize that you have surrounded yourself with a lot of takers. And it even goes back to the patriarchal system, right? Because in the patriarchal system, the mothers are the nurturers. And so they have all of these unspoken ways that they should be showing up in society. And I talk about that. Like, I did a blog post, I don't know if you caught it, where I went into why we dim our light, because it's this unspoken um, societal expectation from women, and we're not even aware that we're doing it. So when you compound that with being a Cancer rising, you're even having that projected onto you even more and more intensely. And so you might have been someone as a child in your home that took on a lot of responsibility. You could have had a mother that was very irresponsible, and so you were the one who was sought after for advice and taking care of. Like, I don't know if you have younger siblings, but maybe that responsibility was yours. And so the resentment builds, but what happens in the process is you forget to nurture yourself. You don't even know how to, because you assume it's your love language to take care of others. And you've got the double whammy because you have Venus, right? And Venus loves love, but Venus rules Libra and Taurus, but Libra has the reputation of being a people pleaser. So if you are not in your worth, if you don't know your self-worth, you're going to overgive in relationships as well. You're going to attract, and you might have found this, is that you attract a lot of wounded masculines who need a mother. And you want to be cared for. You want to feel like a queen, because you are ruled by the moon, and it is a matriarchal energy with the moon, very intuitive. It's the high priestess of inner knowing. And when you give your power away through nurturing others, you lose bits and bits of yourself, and you begin to hide, because also the for Cancer, the symbol is a crab. And what do crabs do when they don't feel safe? They go back into their shell. So it might come off as that you're very shy. Yes, you could be an introvert, because that is, Cancers have an introverted personality, and they like to just protect themselves and be in their homes, and be comfortable in their home. But also, if you're not careful, you can lose yourself and become so insecure that people see you as being needy. And I know this because I have a Cancer Venus, and I fell into not having healthy boundaries, being the people pleaser, all of the things, even in my business. While we're talking about my business, I want to say thank you for always being my cheerleader, and plugging, my book, and giving me high praise. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate that you see me in the work that I am doing. So I want to acknowledge you for that. And that's the type of person you are. Like, you love so deeply, and you care for others, and you're so authentic that you're not going to use people, right? You're not the taker, but there is a happy balance. See, for me, I have Mars with my Venus, which is that happy balance of masculine and feminine. But when you have the double Venus and Cancer, you could be so in your feminine, where you're highly sensitive, and so it's easier for you to retreat and not speak your truth. I want to give you an example of not speaking your truth, especially as a mother. Like, I don't know if you have children, but I'm a mother of five. So I only can give you examples from my experience. And because I have that Venus and Cancer in the way that I serve, I overgave to my kids, and they just expected it from me. And so I started feeling like a doormat. But then I didn't know that I was operating from a wound of feeling invisible. And so I learned how to overgive to other people in order for them to see that I care about them and that I'm a good person, right? Because we all have that good girl syndrome. And I realized that I was raising my kids to be doormats. And when I say that, I mean like not saying no and becoming followers and putting themselves in situations where they knew that it wasn't good for them, but they didn't say anything because they didn't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. So I had to sit down with all of my kids and tell them, look, you picked this up for me and this has to end now, because if it's not a hell yes, it's always a no. And they respected me for that. But had I have not done the inner work, I wouldn't even known that I was operating from that. And if I never studied astrology, I wouldn't even know that that's a blueprint. That's something that I came here to heal. And so for you, with having Leo in the second house, Leo's a gentle leader. Leo is ruled by the sun. So that's your counterpart, right? You have Cancer with the moon, and then you have Leo with the sun. So in the second house of how you're here to be seen and to earn your money, and um, how you see the material world is, even though you're shy, you really do want to be acknowledged. And that's where if you're not your healed version, that's where the neediness comes in. And so in a relationship, you could cling on because you don't know your worth. And Leos are queens, right? And so that's what you're here to step into that. I don't know where your Chiron is, but you really want to take a look and see what zodiac sign and what house you have Chiron, because that will give you another clue. Because once you heal that, that is the wound that you're here to guide others to heal. Because Leos are about the heart. And so in your second house, that's where people see you as being so generous, because Leos are generous. They're loyal, they're devoted, they're highly creative. And then they all also get a reputation of being in their toxic energy of being boastful and being overly bold and, really taking up space. And I can tell you, with being a Leo sun, that if you're raised in an environment where there's chaos, because like with me, I remember my parents going through a divorce and there was a lot of chaos around that. And I learned how to be quiet, to become invisible, because my Leo son wanted to be playful and be a kid and be childlike. But I saw that it wasn't safe to be that, because my mom's nervous system couldn't handle it. So I learned how to make myself invisible. So you might want to ask yourself, where in your life are you being invisible and not coming out as the bold leader? Because that's really what you're here to do. There is something about your expression going to we're just going to pop over to the fifth house, because that's where Leo naturally is ruled by Scorpio. And Scorpio is all about transformations and taboo information, taboo subjects. And so you might express yourself with things that you thought were taboo, let's say, and then immediately you got shut down for it. And because of that, in your second house, with how you earn your money, you push that part of you, because as a Cancer rising with the Cancer Venus, you are extremely psychic. And so as Scorpio being taboo and about psychology, you might have spoke about things that you saw, and people automatically shut you down and said, we don't talk about that, or you're crazy, or what are you talking about, or that's not good to talk about those kind of things, or whatever. So it really reinforced that you had to dim your light. So when it comes to your living room space, you are very nostalgic. And so you love like a comfortable room, like with slip covers and floral prints, and very much like a cottage. Very nurturing candles, books, surrounding yourself with things that you love, but very homey and comfortable. And you probably hear this when people come into your home, that your home has a good vibe. So when I think of the living room, using it as the example for the second house, you have a lot of mementos in your space, whether it's photographs of the people that you love, things that you picked up during your travels. You probably enjoy thrifting or finding things that tell a story that has some history to it. Um, and so, really, what I want you to know with this is, because you don't have planets in Leo, when the planets come in, the transits come into the second house for you, you're going to feel that through the lens of a Leo. And you're going to feel it more intensely because Leos are ruled by the sun. And you are the queen. You are the Leo. You are supposed to be taking up space with healthy boundaries, though, not from a place of giving, oversharing because you want to wear your heart on your sleeve and you feel like that is showing that you're authentic, that you're real. Because I used to think that way. And healthy boundaries means that um, you only share things with people that you trust. You don't share it with strangers because if you do, whether it's something that you've gone through, it makes people feel uncomfortable when you're overstepping their boundaries because they're not ready to hold the container for you when you share that part of yourself with them, especially if they don't know you. And you know this all too well because you probably have a lot of people coming to you sharing their stories, and you feel uncomfortable because you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, wait a minute, that was way too much. But Uranus is the natural ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus is moving out of your your Taurus, sorry, Uranus is moving out of your Taurus, which would be your 11th house of Aquarius, where Uranus naturally rules, and is moving into your Gemini, which your Gemini is the 12th house, and that is the house of spirituality. It's the house of secrets, it's the house of hiding, it's the house of addiction and avoidance. And so that's why I'm saying that once Uranus transits in 2026, you're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone in order for you to shine and share with the world what you came here to share. And I know that it takes baby steps, but the expression, the way that you're supposed to express yourself is to talk about taboo topics, and talk about what's happening in the world, and how we're moving out of this Pisces energy into the Aquarius energy. You are very attracted to astrology because it's one of those taboo things, and you really understand the psychology of people. And that's because with a Cancer rising, you are known for sitting back and observing others. Like, you watch people and you understand how they're behaving, especially with that Scorpio in ruling your house of self expression. So for 2026, I recommend that you get comfortable with whether if it's being on camera, talking about things that interest you, and come from a point of not everybody's going to see it. This is practice. You're not going to have all the views right away, or even if you don't even post it, you get on the camera, you talk about what you want to talk about, and then maybe you just keep it in your storage for a while. You don't even post it. But this is to get you comfortable with um, your for this is to get you comfortable with being a leader, a courageous leader that comes from heart. Um, because once you do this, you're going to devote yourself. So it's always going to be about something that is really important to you, coming from the home, right? Whether it's a pain that you experienced in the home, or the way that you nurture others, or your intuitive self, your psychic abilities. And those are things that feel uncomfortable to talk about, but you have them. And the minute that you start owning it, it will come easily to you. You're not going to shy away from talking about that. And then also remember that because you are a giver in the second house in your material world, you need to have some kind of a practice for healthy boundaries, whether it is looking in the mirror and practicing saying no and being uncomfortable with that, because our nervous system, when we say no and we're not used to saying no, right away we want to make excuses for why we're saying no. We feel like we have to have this long drawn out explanation. So maybe you just start in 2026, you just start saying no as a complete sentence and hold yourself back from giving a reason why until you start getting comfortable with it, because you have to integrate this into your nervous system and understanding that if somebody has a problem with you saying no, it's a them problem. It's not a you problem. So if they have issues and they start projecting onto you because you're saying no, that's on them. That has nothing to do with you, because having healthy boundaries makes you more magnetic. And Leo in the second house is ruled by the sun, and the sun is pure charisma and magnetism. And when you don't know your worth, you become this silent doormat. I know doormat sounds negative, but it's the only way that I can put it into words that really sticks. But you silently just wilt and disappear and become invisible. If you didn't check out my blog post, Jess, check out my blog post. I do talk about dimming your light and what it means to dim your light, and what it's not when you're dimming your light. And then also, if you have a relationship that is really hard for you to break away, that you've been people pleasing, I give you some steps on how to take your power back in that relationship, to detach yourself from it. Because 2026 is the year of the horse, and this is about freedom. And this is about integrating everything that you have learned, the wisdom and what you've transformed in 2025. So it's really important that you take the time to integrate this. And also in that blog post, I do talk about Ophiuchus, which is the 13th zodiac that I discovered, who is um, the in between from the eighth and the ninth house of integration. And there's a time frame that we're supposed to be doing it during the holiday season, where we're so busy that we skip over it. And that's what keeps us in this loop, and we don't have time to integrate. So I hope that you're still continuing with your journaling practice. And there's some questions there that you can ask yourself. And I hope that this in depth reading helped you to understand yourself a little bit more. You have a beautiful soul, you have a beautiful light. You are here for big things. You don't need to hide anymore. The only thing is you need to have those healthy boundaries and really step into your worth. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for commenting, and thank you for always, always supporting me.